Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another round of sound. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. I'm Bob Pompeani. So much to get into tonight. We'll talk about the Pirates and Reds, coronavirus. We're going to talk about college football. 2 conferences say no, 3 more want to play. We'll also get into the Penguins and changes for the next season. But the #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown will be the Pittsburgh Steelers, who tomorrow begin padded practices. Here's your panel. Rich Walsh, my colleague over in Studio B. Chris Mueller up at 93.7 The Fan. Mark Kaboly from his home. Kaboly, of course, doing a great job with the Athletic. And Mark, I'm going to start with you about this, about the Pittsburgh Steelers. They go in knowing that they have a returning team of just about almost the same rosters last year, yet they know next year the roster could change dramatically because of the salary cap situation. So how much pressure is there for Steelers to do something this year, to win big time this year?
No, I think it's imperative because, like you said, we don't know what's going to happen next year. I mean, not only with some of the players, but with the salary cap, you could lose, 10 to 12 key players on this roster from anywhere from Hayward to, up and down the line, Villanueva to TJ Watt. He won't be lost, but he might not be signed right away. You just keep going on and on and on, and you don't even know the health of Ben Roethlisberger. It seems like he's on the right path to be able to play, and the one option they might have is to be able to extend him after the season to be able to allow that to happen a little bit. So, I think it's imperative to try to have that win now mentality, because how it looks right now, next year is going to be ugly.
Yeah, no question they have to win now, guys. Because I think the biggest question, not only the salary cap like Mark was talking about, you're going to have to try to sign all these guys, but Ben Roethlisberger. I want to know what Ben Roethlisberger is going to show up. I want to believe it's the Ben Roethlisberger from a few years ago. He said he's motivated. He looks good out there, lost weight, looks like he's in shape. I heard he's throwing the ball around and looks pretty sharp out there. But which one is going to show up on the field? Hopefully not the one that throws a ton of interceptions. I want to see this team with a healthy and good Ben Roethlisberger, because I don't know how many more years Ben Roethlisberger has, right? And so this year is key to, I think, seeing and knowing how many more years you have with number 7.
Well, I've been as skeptical about his physical fitness as anybody, but one of my spies on the ground informed me yesterday that he looks very good. Saw him and just relayed back to me that I would be wrong if I were saying he was in bad physical shape, that he looks quite good and ready to go, trim and fit. But, I mean, it's all about Ben Roethlisberger, not just for their hopes this season in terms of what he could give them at the quarterback position, but what Mark alluded to. If you have a healthy, productive Ben Roethlisberger, you feel a whole lot better about potentially kicking the can down the road even further with an extension that allows you a lot more, wait for it, financial flexibility for next year's roster. Right now, the pandemic is the brick wall in the way of Omar Khan's usual cap kind of magic that gets done. And if Ben Roethlisberger shows that he's good, that he's healthy, that he maybe is motivated to play a little bit longer, you feel a lot better about moving some money, more of that money, even further into the future to help you in 2021.
Mark, Bob, I'll tell you, one of my biggest concerns, I think realistically moving forward, is the age of the offensive line. How do you fix that when you're competing against young teams like the Browns and the Ravens within a division? Not to mention the Kansas City Chiefs. The age of the offensive line, how do you get younger there? Maybe Mark has a good answer for that. That's the big question I have.
Well, you don't. I mean, you have to be able to draft these guys for them to be able to be successful right away. If not, it's the same process that they've always had, and try to develop people from, some lower round draft picks. And right now, that cupboard's about empty right now. It looks like you have some decent potential there at right tackle with Banner and Okorafor, but those guys are going to be restricted and unrestricted free agents next year. Same with Filer. I mean, when you're paying 2 guys on the offensive lineman, top 10% of your salary cap, I mean, it's all about develop. And we know Munchak can do that with some of these young guys. We don't know if Surratt can do that quite yet. And that's going to be a key moving forward.
Chris, I want to ask you about Cam Hayward. It's a number that we're talking about, how much money it will cost. He's in his 30s, but this is a very important player for this defense. So far, not much progress. Do you see a contract signed for Cam Hayward before this season starts, or maybe into this season if the Steelers go away from their longtime policy?
I think if they were going to go away from their long-time policy, this would be a good time to do it. Hayward's a confounding proposition. We know that the oldest defensive lineman in the NFL, I believe right now, is Calais Campbell, who's 34. Cam Hayward's, 31? But the problem with him is, like, how do you not sign the guy? They love him as a leader in the locker room. I think the Steelers seem to put more stock and currency in that trait than a lot of teams do. And the guy is coming off back-to-back-to-back in ascending order, his best 3 seasons as a pro. He's been incredibly productive. I think it would be, I know they have some depth. I know they probably feel good about what they could get eventually here, but Cam Hayward looks to me to be an irreplaceable guy, whether you think his age is going to limit how much time he's got left as that player or not.
You know, I agree with you, Chris. I think it's important to try to get something with Cam Hayward, but you know what? I was thinking about this, and you look at the Steelers. Historically, they've been good at cutting guys loose right at the right time. They've done it over the years, and they might do it here not knowing, because we don't know what it's going to be like the next few years with the salary cap. And I think it's more important to sign guys like T.J. Watt and maybe Minkah Fitzpatrick down the road, to have guys like that than a Cam Hayward.
I don't think it's the right time, Rich. I mean, we're talking about 3 of his best seasons back-to-back here. What do you have, an all-pro, a couple Pro Bowlers? He keeps getting better and better every single year. And, you know, they've been pretty good at letting guys go a little bit, except that one guy, I remember his name was Rod Woodson. I think they still regret doing that. But I think Hayward, if you can get him to what they typically do with those 30-year-olds, guys that they like to do 3-year deals with him. If they could get him to 3 years, get him to 34 years old, get him to a workable amount, I think they're going to do it. But that $175 million just makes it very difficult to do right now. If you let him get March, man, somebody can come and unload the Brinks truck and he's gone.
Chris, the Steeler defense last year forced 32 turnovers, 54 sacks. Do they have to have the same statistical line there in order to be as good for this team with Ben Roethlisberger quarterback?
No, they don't have to have the same statistical line, but they do, I think, have to continue to have a knack as much as possible for taking the ball away. And they were on the field for a lot of snaps, as people have pointed out, because the offense was so putrid, so they should be more rested. You would hope that they'll be close to as dynamic. But to me, and maybe, you know, reasonable minds can disagree here, playing great defense in the NFL anymore is mainly about flipping fields and taking the ball away and sending it the other way. Like, gone for me are the days of the 2000 Ravens just digging their heels in and nobody being able to move the ball. I want the Steelers to pressure quarterbacks, and I want them to force turnovers. And if they give up yards in the process, so what?
All right.
I say they need to play with the lead. I mean, that's how you make this team better right now. How many times did they play with the lead last year, this defense, where they could pin their ears back and just get after the quarterback? And they're still able to produce those kind of numbers. I remember maybe Arizona late, and you saw what happened there. They had a couple picks. So maybe Roethlisberger, this offense affords them the ability to play with a 7-10 point lead finally, rather being, you know, worried about if you don't get a first down and have to punt. As Chris said, you flip the field and all of a sudden you lose the game. So I think that's the big key going in as well.
Yeah. Another thing is going to be, you're talking about contracts earlier. Chris, back to you on this one. You know, if Ben or Juju Smith-Schuster and if James Conner both have good years, there's no way they can afford to bring both back. At least I don't think so, given everything else they have. Which of those two do you think they would choose?
Well, I think they would choose the better player, Smith-Schuster, but I think the real answer here is pageant wave number 1, pageant wave number 2. Goodbye, guys. Thank you for your service to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Best of luck finding a new contract elsewhere. I mean, Smith-Schuster is by far the more proven, better player. Connor's injury prone. I'm sorry, 4 years and done. Even if he has a great season, I think you'd be paying him based on what he had just done and not what he would be counted on to do in the future or expected to do. So I would actually answer option C here. I think both are gone, but Smith-Schuster is more likely to stay.
All right, now it's time for you guys to make a smart play during the summer sales event at #1 Cochran Ford Allegheny Valley. You can get 0% interest for 72 months on most 2020 Ford models, including the best-selling F-150 Super Crew, or choose incredible lease offers Shop their safety-conscious showroom or buy online at Cochran.com and choose contact-free home delivery or express curbside pickup. It's only right now at number 1 Cochran Ford Allegheny Valley in-store or online. When we come back, Pittsburgh Penguins take center stage. That's next. The number 1 Cochran Sports Showdown is brought to you by number 1 Cochran. Go one better. And by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Have a greater hand in your health.